And good afternoon and welcome to episode 5 of Beyond the Devastation. Today we have a great guest, someone that we met through a mutual friend, but I think her story resonates with many of you who have been devastated and have gone through some things, but don't know where else to turn. And she has turned this thing into a great, great move of God. And I'm so grateful to have known her and we met. And we'll talk about how we met, but I want to bring on today someone that we can call a friend and somebody who's a part of our family. And her name is Jacqueline Baker. And I am so grateful to introduce her because it's actually the first time we've seen each other live.
Yes.
And we get to now see each other. And unfortunately, it took a podcast, but fortunately, it took a podcast for
Right.
us to be introduced. We've been talking on the phone for some time. And now here we are in person. It's awesome. So grateful and so thankful that you could join us today. And without further ado, I want you to tell everybody your story of how you got beyond the devastation of what happened to you. Take it away, Miss Jacqueline.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about what has happened to me. And I thank Pastor John for inviting me on this podcast. It's really, as he said, it's nice to meet a person to put a face with a voice. And how we met, he'll talk about it, but that's helped me also. I was diagnosed in February 16th, Sunday at 10 o'clock, when my gynecologist called me and told me that my CA-125, that's a test you take to see if you have ovarian cancer or any kind of GYN cancer, and it was 700. And prior to that, I knew something was wrong. You know, the higher the numbers are for cancer, of course, the worse it is. And I knew something wrong because I had my stomach was bothering me and it wouldn't stop. And I kept saying why. And previously I had exercised. I went to a nutrition. I had lost weight. I looked great. I just turned 60. And I did that to have all that for my 60th birthday. But all of a sudden I kept losing weight. And I couldn't understand what was wrong. Then my stomach started hurting me and I couldn't eat, and food wasn't settling with me. And I'm a foodie person. If anybody knows me, I eat well, very well, always have. And and I couldn't eat, and I was feeling really bad, and my stomach kept. So I called my doctor, my primary care doctor, and I told him my symptoms. And he called me. It was on a Sunday. He called me right back, and he said, "Come in Monday," and we went through the tests. And I had to take a colonoscopy. I did that, and that doctor said that there's something blocking. And he took an MRI, and he said he saw tumors. So when I called the GYN doctor, and that's when she told me. And that was like the least thing I was thinking. I was like, what could be wrong? Am I diabetic, kidney, high blood pressure, which I do have, but I said there's something else. But that I was not thinking of. And when he told me, naturally, devastated, called my family right away. Everybody came over. They comforted me because I was just actually screaming instead of crying. And they were like, calm down. And I couldn't calm down. Excuse me. Because I was so upset naturally. So, we all came over, and then, I talked to more doctors, and they tell me, what you have to do next, which is to find an oncologist. And of course, you need surgery. So they recommended a great surgeon for me. He was really good. And I did my first surgery. This was in March of 2020. And that's right when the pandemic hit. So I was able to have that first surgery, okay, because they wasn't limiting and stopping people from coming in. So I had that one, but it didn't go well as planned because the tumors were big, and they said you need chemotherapy to shrink them. So I had to go through that. So after I recovered from the hospital, about 4 days, I did the 18 weeks of chemo. And then I did the second surgery in August, and it went right through. It went really well. But before that, okay, I did a lot of praying. I had so much support from my family and from friends and my school. I'm a retired teacher. And I worked in my district, Yonkers, and it's like the whole district. Everybody called me,
Oh, that's awesome.
everybody texted me, wrote me. My living room looked like a garden. I got so many flowers and fruit baskets. Everybody was so upset, and it's like, no, not Jackie, because I'm always there to help people, and I'm here, there. People can depend on me. And people was just shocked. They were more upset than I was.
Wow.
People were so upset, and people were praying, and I got cards and cards. And I mean, my principal, she had a staff meeting just about me. We have to surround her with love. I mean, everybody called and told me. They said, Jackie, you don't know how upset it was. It was just amazing to
So
have
when you
that
got so
support.
when you got that, yeah, so when you got that initial call, you said it was more screaming than crying.
Crying, yeah. Yeah.
How, when you got that devastating report,
Mhm.
you said you reached out to family. What
Yeah.
was their response when, when this whole thing went down?
Well, I have sisters, three sisters, and one started crying. She was like, "No, no," and she was praying that it wouldn't be, and all this, and she was crying. The other one said, first turn to God. She said, pray about it, Jackie. You got to pray. First thing you do, you got to pray. Your faith is strong, and I'm a church goer and everything, and I believe, strong. My faith has always been pretty strong. I always pray about, because I bring prayer changes things. So they say, first thing you got to do that meditation, and they said, God will be by your side. So it was a lot of spiritual support that I got immediately, right away. All my niece, my nephews, I mean, just everyone called me.
Which is phenomenal. I mean, this is what we need, right? But
Yeah.
I've talked to other people that have gotten a diagnosis.
Hmm.
Did you what was your immediate thought
So,
when
yeah.
you heard when you heard the C word, what was your immediate thought?
I was devastated. And I said, and from what I heard from other people about cancer, because the first thought that people have with cancer is like, oh my God, it's not good. You're going to die. You're not going to make it. It's a matter of time. That's my thought. That's what I was thinking. And I said, well, I'm not going to have that thought because it happened to me. So I'm not keeping that thought. And I would just lay in my bed and I just said, God, I'm gonna get through this. Help me through this. And I'm not gonna have that attitude. I changed my attitude automatically to be positive. I said, I'm not gonna have that vision of just hanging off of an IV, eyes sunken in. You do lose your hair. I said, I'm gonna get through this. I just kept thinking positive, and I did meditation every morning. I did my prayer. I sat up and I would sit up, and I would just said, I'm not gonna let this devastate. I'm not gonna let this destroy me and give up and turn into something so negative. So I just kept a positive thought no matter what. I just kept thinking positive.
And for those that are listening, I want to. So let's rule number one. She said she prayed.
Mhm.
Two, she took an attitude that really she had a disposition that cancer wasn't going to beat her; she was going to beat it.
Yeah.
And while Jackie has what so how we met was this, through a mutual friend. We're going to shout out to Dr. Cassandra Dobson. Through Dr. Dobson, our church has a prayer line, 7:30. We've been doing every morning, Monday through Friday, for 7 years. Jackie came on, and when we heard the devastating news, we all I think, Sister Jackie, is that, yeah, we know God's a healer, but when people hear the C word, we automatically turn negative than
Mhm.
positive. How, it looks like, how were you able to change that within I know you said prayer, but
Mhm.
that didn't happen overnight, did it? I mean, were you like, when, hey, I got the diagnosis, I know I'm okay. How long did it really take you for that to sink in that you were going to be okay?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I kept my focus. I kept praying about it every night. And there were times, yeah, don't get me wrong, I did cry. I was upset to myself. And I was like, oh, God, no, this is not my plan. I have a lot to do. I got to be well. I mean, and it took a while just to accept that, first of all. Um, and I just kept thinking in my mind. And then after a while, I had stopped crying, and I would just sit up in bed thinking, like, no, I'm not gonna feed into this. I'm just not, I mean, I know I have it and I have to take care of myself. And I started reading books also on healing. And because, excuse me, as I said, doctors believe in science, not really the spiritual aspect. So I really just got into the spiritual aspect part of it. I mean, and there were people telling me that, you just, you don't need treatment, or just trust in God and take it that way. Some people, I said, no, I know I need treatment now. I do have to get rid of this out of my body. I do. And I need surgery. Okay, that's absolute. But still, I'm gonna keep on, just this is gonna, leave me, because God knows that what I need to do. And I have to be well to do that. So I have to hang on. So I was just like, I gotta hang on to being positive. Like, I gotta hang on that this is not going to keep me from
Wow.
doing. And through the whole thing, I didn't feel, like they say you're in pain and all. I didn't feel a lot of pain.
Wow.
I
That's
had
awesome. That is
treatment.
really, yeah, and this is why I wanted people to hear her story. Look, we hear people already a lot of people put themselves in hospice before even they're supposed but
Right.
look at what she did. I think it was her mindset changed,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest critical part, is that she did not allow this to control her actions, her mind, and the way her well-being.
Right.
She decided that I'm going to put myself, and I see, I get to hear her Monday through Friday. So that's why I wanted the world to hear her today. She is determined to do
Mhm.
what she's going to do. She
Right.
was built for something. And that's why I wanted her here, because she was built for this.
Yes.
And, and that's where I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the purpose that you feel that you've been put here to do a great work. And please tell everybody what you've decided to do with this time this precious time you've been given, because you're not letting any grass grow under your feet, girl.
Right.
What are you doing to keep yourself motivated, and
Right.
share with everybody what you're doing to help everybody else?
Yes. Right. Well, I'm busy, and I've always been busy. I've always been involved in a lot of different organizations, and my children were diagnosed with sickle cell disease, and that's always been the forefront of my mind. And
And
I've
how many
always
children do you have? Just to let everybody know.
no, I have two children, and
And
they're
they both have sickle cell.
yes, they both were
Okay.
born with sickle cell SS hemoglobin, which is the most severe type of sickle cell you can have. And I also have a granddaughter. She has the sickle cell trait. So
Wow.
myself and my ex-husband, we have the trait. And then when I got cancer, I'm like, my God, this is another thing that happened to me. But once again, turning that into positive, because I raised my children the best I could. They did pretty well, considering they have debilitating disease of sickle cell. It's really chronic, very, very serious. And they did well because I followed the doctors. I did everything for them. Okay. And I kept that positive too, because I was like, oh, that was devastating. So and then when I got this on, the cancer, I said, okay, well, the same way, keep that same attitude. And I said, I'm still doing this. I said, God allowed me to wake up every morning and be able to do and feel okay to do everything. I mean, I'm very independent. And only thing, when I was doing chemo, I had people to drive me, because they said, and everyone kept, don't drive because they know how I am. Don't do this. Don't. But I was determined to do that. But I said, no, let somebody else. People offered to help me. So they said, take the help, Jacqueline, because you usually don't. So I took that and they drove me. But after I finished the chemo, I was able to carry on my business as usual. I walked every day. Also, that's very important to exercise. I didn't want to sit down in no kind of pity. So you got to keep moving. So being in organizations, that keeps me going. It's something else to think about, something else to do. I had to go to meetings. I mean, then, of course, there's COVID, so everything is on Zoom, but I was on the Zoom calls and I had to go, but I also had to go to the doctor, get blood work, treatment. I did all of that and still come back home and do and meet with this person. And I was taking a class to do the to get my own nonprofit. So I swear that I started a nonprofit on sickle cell, and
Wow.
that
So
was
tell us the name of the nonprofit, and what you're doing and what you've done thus far, and where you need some help, because I want you to use this as a platform there might be somebody out there that might be a donor that wants to give to your cause.
yes, yes. Okay, sure. So, the name of my nonprofit is Westchester Sickle Cell Outreach. I'm the CEO and founder, Dr. Cassandra Dobson. She's the co-founder. It was something that we had always talked about doing because I was a parent advocate for sickle cell for many years, and I connected with many sickle cell organizations in New York City, but there was never any in Westchester County where I lived. I lived in Yonkers. I moved now further north, and I always had to go to New York City to get medical care for my children. I was lucky to have one doctor, and many families are not that lucky to have support, a doctor or anything that will specialize in sickle cell because you need a hematologist, okay, not an oncologist. And I was fortunate enough, and from being with those organizations, I learned so much. I was always there. We would go to Albany, Washington, because sickle cell is one of those diseases that it affects African Americans, but it also affects other cultures as well. It's not just a Black disease where it has a lot of stigma. So therefore it gets the least amount of funding compared to AIDS, Parkinson's, lupus, diabetes, and definitely cancer. So we're always out in the forefront advocating and spreading the word about sickle cell because some people still don't know about what sickle cell is. And it's a red blood cell disorder that blocks the oxygen from getting to all parts of your body. And when it does that, it can cause excruciating pain, organ organ damage, and even death. And many people have died from that. Okay, you are born with that. Okay, it's innate. It's not something you catch. It comes from the two parents having the trait, and
Wow.
and and it's only a 25% that you can either have the disease or not, and 50% of having the trait. And that 25% fell on me both times, and that was
Wow.
devastating. But once again, I have family support. Many don't. So
Right.
I went into this program in Westchester County that helps you to start a business or a nonprofit. And I did a nonprofit. So they were behind me. I learned a lot about how to put the organization together. And meantime, doing this, I still had to go from all my cancer treatments and the blood work and this and that. And
Yeah. This is where I just want to pause. So I want everybody to listen really quick to what was transpiring here, right? They always say New Yorkers talk fast. We do, but
yeah.
you all got to catch up with us. Ha ha. So, but listen what transpired. She gets a diagnosis of cancer. She starts to pray. She surrounds herself with family. She hears the devastating word from the doctor, but she changes her mind to say, I'm going to go forward. My children have sickle cell, and I've heard her pray. So she said, I want to be around to find a cure for this thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And she says, God, I need your help. So here's what she does in her spare time. She goes out and learns how to be a nonprofit and starts a company with her best friend to bring awareness so it keeps her engaged and busy so she don't have time to think about herself.
No,
But
no.
yet in the process, she's still going to chemo, she's still getting treatment, she's
Yeah.
still advocating for her children, and not only her children, but thousands of others in the
Oh,
process.
yes.
Sister Jackie, how do you even sleep?
I know. I do. I do. Everyone said you have to rest. You have to rest. I do. I go to bed at night. Well, one thing, I'm retired, so it's not like I have to go to a job.
Okay, so that answers that question.
Yes,
She's
right.
retired. You were a
I am
retired
retired.
school teacher, right?
Yes, yes, for 35 years. Yes, I am.
35 years in the Yonkers school system?
Yeah, and New York City. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So 35 years, God bless you. My wife retired. I know what it I didn't know what a principal did until I married one.
Right.
But
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
commend educators because you
Yes.
guys you guys are forming that we're forming this generation and had a lot of impact. And
Yeah.
especially having teachers that are women of color
Mhm.
and that in Yonkers where there are a lot of people of color to see.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that children got to see somebody that looked like them. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you dedicating
Thank
35
you.
years of your life to this
Yeah.
generation.
Because it wasn't
But
easy. Very
I
hard.
was going to say, I know it wasn't easy. I've
No.
heard some of the horror stories.
Yeah.
But, Jackie, I think that one thing I want people to walk away from today is that you have dedicated your life to service either at school or now to your children and now to children that you might not even know.
Right.
But this nonprofit is really your baby now.
Now, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And it's so tell people tell them, give them an email address,
Yes,
share with them a phone number,
yes.
how they could donate either time or, more importantly, money.
Okay, yes. Anybody can sign up. We have our website. It is www.wsco7.org.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, it's www.wsco7.org, which is Westchester Sickle Cell Outreach, and you need the 7 because that distinguishes us from
Everybody else.
from WSCO. Yes, and that is,
Great.
I would go on there. You can certainly donate. Our email address is info@wsco7.org. Okay, and that's it. I'll say it again, info@wsco7.org. And the phone number is 914-391-7637. We are virtual now. We had a support group in September. Our next support group is November 17th. We invite anyone to come on. Today I'm going to put it all out on my LinkedIn page everywhere, because last time we had someone that came in from Georgia.
Wow.
Anywhere you want. We targeting Westchester County, because we do want to reach that area, since there's quite a few organizations in New York City, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens. They do have, and we all work together. We all connected. Okay, because that's, like I said, that's where I really started and got involved. They have the walks. Every year. We just finished the national organization, which is called the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America. We just had a big conference last week, and that is sicklecelldisease.org. If you want to go on that website, and you can learn anything and everything about sickle cell, they'll let you know what's going on. Updated research, which is so important. And like the pastor said, they have what we want to find, a universal cure, because as of now, you only have a stem cell bone transplant, which can be successful or not. Some patients have been, some patients haven't, some patients have passed away from it. Some patients that didn't pass away, but they still have the sickle cell, because the point is to take away the sickle cell disease. And you have blood transfusions, which my oldest son is on. He was off, but then he went back on. And then, of course, they give you the medication, which are opioids, and they're addictive. And we do have new medications that are kind of helping, but it's been so long since that first medication, hydroxyurea, in the 70s, until years later they come up with 3 new medications. So this is how we say there's a lot of problems with sickle cell disease that affects nationally, and one of them definitely is funding, and why we don't get funding compared to other diseases that gets funding right away. And New York has, there's over 100,000 of sickle cell patients in the United States. New York has the most amount of patients, like 10,000, at least 10,000.
Wow. So we have 10% of the total population of the disease.
Right. And we get the least amount.
And we get the least amount of funding, but we also know, let's talk the truth, right? We also know that the disease is predominantly an African-American disease. Right. So again, it's not fully funded. No. If it was any other whatever you want to say, it would get more attention. Yes. And just like the opioid epidemic got attention because it was affecting more Caucasians. Right. If this was affecting more Caucasians, guess what we would get? A whole lot more money. So why I asked her here was because I need to bring attention to this. This is devastating news for parents. Yeah. This is devastating news for anyone that has to deal with a child or a loved one who has sickle cell.
No, right.
And there's no drugs out there that are really knocking it out of the park. They're still doing research. I always think about muscular dystrophy didn't really get the attention until Jerry Lewis decided to do a telethon, right? That's what I remember it from as a kid. MS, until Jerry came on and he had it every year and raised millions and billions of dollars, it wasn't as known as it probably would be. But we need to do the same for sickle cell. We need somebody, and here's a woman that is championing the cause, even though she's got cancer.
You're right. Yes.
And that's what I love about her spirit. That's what I love about her, because I'm not going to let this thing beat me.
Right. No.
I've got children that I need to see them get through, and I got children's children that I want to see. This is one woman making a difference in the community, folks. And I want you to give to her cause. So Jackie, please give them your website again so they can give.
Okay. Yes. It's on www.wsco7.org. That's
Right.
our website. I'll repeat it
So you want to go on to this. It's give them the name just in case they want to search it. Westchester.
Westchester Sickle Cell Outreach, INC Incorporated.
So the Westchester Sickle Cell Outreach Inc. Right?
Yes,
you want to find it. You want to give. You want to help children because look, regardless of their color, these are children that are suffering.
Right.
Parents that need support. We don't have, the sickle cell doesn't have like the Shriners, right?
Right.
They don't have Marlo Thomas getting up there and her dad, and I'm aging myself, but they
Some
don't have.
do go to St. Jude's,
Right.
where Marlo Thomas.
Oh, good. So they do go to St. Jude's. I'm glad.
Some
I wasn't sure, but we need an advocate like Jackie. We need her to get the support. So I'm asking everybody as you listen to this, as we try to tell her story, give.
Yes.
Because that's what's going to make the difference.
Yeah.
And, I'm so grateful to have an opportunity, not only hear you, but now see you. And I want to make sure that we lift and make that clarion call because I don't want to see any more children suffer that don't have to.
Right.
And their parents need support when the children go to get help. Look, a lot. They need that support. And, and Jackie, look, you're a rarity that in spite of everything that you're going through, you stepped up to help others. And I just want to take this last second to say, look, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful and honored that I get a chance to meet you now. And I get to hear you Monday through Friday.
Right.
But this devastation, folks, is real. And we need your help. And she needs your help. And as she said it herself, she did not let this thing conquer her. She is conquering it. Yes. And I really want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, Jackie. I'm sure we're going to have you back on because she's going to need a fundraiser coming up. And if there's anything I can do to do that, I will be your MC. But I'm so grateful for this time. And this has been Beyond the Devastation episode 4, I believe. I don't even remember how many times, but it's episode 4. And our guest today was Jacqueline Baker, representing the Westchester County Outreach for Sickle Cell. And please give because she's giving back so much. Thank you. And God bless. And enjoy this episode and tell your friends.
Yes, I certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to drop and we're going to come back and we're going to go out with my, if I can get it to work today, let me go out with my little tune here that I like to play on the way out. And thank you.